Live? No. Yes, we are. We're live right now. So,
We are live. I got
hello,
my shades. You got
everybody.
your shades.
Yeah, we're trying to figure this out. Here we are. So, okay, awesome. So now let's change this to public. Public. Done. So that means we should be able to see comments. Oh, you put your glasses on. Awesome. Now, if we click on, oh, there we go. Don's on YouTube. He says,
Okay.
Heidi, Don.
Hey, Don.
Yeah, if you didn't notice already, Jeff bailed on us. So no, I shouldn't say that. Jeff is a busy man.
Jeff had an alternate opportunity.
Oh, an alternate opportunity. Well, that's awesome. And luckily, my good friend and fellow go giver Peg Duchesne. I like to say it all in one. Peg Duchesne, like one big word. Peg Duchesne. Uh, you know what I think that you do among many other things that is ultra awesome is that you put how to say your name on your email signature block.
I
What
do.
were you getting that you were getting not Duchesne? Oh no, what were you getting?
A myriad of answers. Some people
No.
call me, well, some people just say Peg Duchesne, or they'll say Duchesne
Oh, I've said
or
Duchesne, I think, which is
Duchesne, which is how
yeah.
I tell people if you need to spell my name, this is how you spell it. It's not how you say it. At one time when I was in the army, and you wear your name out across your jacket, your uniform, this man went, Sergeant Duck Knees.
Oh,
And I
duckies.
said, ducks don't even have knees, which he didn't appreciate. But yeah, I get all sorts of things. And now that's why I created my company called Duchess, because it's so much easier to say and spell than Duchesne. And I like to say I treat my clients like royalty.
Oh, see, that's smart. You're working with it.
Working with
Don says, Peg, do what?
it. What?
Do what? Yeah, the thing I hadn't counted on when I got married the second time, don't judge, my maiden name was Witten, Whitten. And there's Maureen. Hey. Yeah, we're in glasses tonight. And then and then cuz everyone spelled that wrong. Whittier, Whitney, I got the whole shoot match. So I thought Wilbur, certainly you can't mess that up. And now I've
Oh,
spent
yes.
the last 20 years going Wilber because I get you all the time. So, but what are you going to do, really?
Yeah.
Learn to live with it, huh?
Yeah, but if you're going to be on somebody's podcast, you want to make sure they say your name right. So I'll put, like you said, in my signature block, or when I'm sending my bio for the podcast guesting or something, I'll put Peg Duchesne parentheses, quote, DO-SHANE,
That is
close
smart.
quote, quote. So,
And
and they're appreciative because they have no idea how to say it.
in that book I was reading, and I said it out loud to Jeff, and he didn't. It's actually in the book. Richard Wileman, he does the same thing. He puts Wileman is how you say it, but it's Wehlman. Wileman. Yeah, Wileman. Oh, okay.
Well, and with your last name, Wilbur, whether you spell it wrong with a UR or you spell it correctly with an ER, you still say it the same way.
Yes,
Whereas that's not true with
yeah, at least there's that, right? Yeah, I think maybe it makes me super. Yeah, I'm gonna take my glasses off. This is driving me crazy. I'm sorry. I thought I could do it the whole show, but that's not the case.
we had that time pretty well, didn't we?
Yeah. um yeah. uh I thought it's just funny. It makes me super sensitive to other people spelling because I'm so often misspelled, and I know how it feels because I've gotten like a big honor on stage in front of thousands of people with it spelled wrong in the slide. And the problem is, if I don't say anything, if I say something, it makes me seem difficult. If I don't say anything, it gravitates to other places.
Yeah,
Or
it
migrates
exacerbates the
wherever.
problem. People are trying to find you on LinkedIn. They can't find you because your name's misspelled on the
Misspelled.
slide, and then yeah, all the things. It's
So
that
it's
ripple
funny.
effect,
Yeah.
right?
So I hate saying something, but if I don't, yeah. Don said I had that go wrong once. I tell people Donnell is pronounced like Russell, so it's Donnell. Donnell? Now I'm saying it wrong. Then I got introduced as Donald Donnell Russell King. And he says sigh. Maureen says I have people ask how to spell my last name a lot, but then they spell my first name wrong. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's and there's Lisa Williams. Hey Lisa, yay. Donnell. Okay, Donnell. That's what I'm not saying right. Donnell. Okay, I'm saying Donnell, and you're saying Donnell. Oh, I'm sure I'm getting it wrong. Can I just go with Dawn? I
done
said
two ends.
yeah, I said Peg's wrong when I first met Peg. Yeah. Yeah, Rosie O'Donnell. Oh, well, that clears it up. Yeah, when I'm explaining my last name, Wilber with a U is usually a man's first name with a U, and with an E, it's a surname. So, but no one knows that. But what, me?
For people that are young enough to remember Mr. Ed, the talking horse.
Oh, well, I prefer the Mr. Ed story over the Charlotte's Web story because really, BBW women don't like pig references.
Right.
Yeah, I just like avoid pig references at any cost. There's Jeannie Porter. Hey, Jeannie. So we're seeing YouTube comments and we're also seeing Facebook comments. We're not seeing LinkedIn comments. Either that or no one on LinkedIn is commenting, one of the two. So at least we're seeing more than we saw last week. Yay!
Yay, that's a good thing.
And
We'll
there's
count our
Teresa.
blessings.
Teresa Staples is on too. Yay. And I'm wearing the new set. I already showed this at the 1:00, but this is a brand new set. I think they're coming out with jewelry just for me. This is the
A
new
lot
set.
of blue.
It's a lot of blue. Yeah, I was just at the grocery store and had this whole set on. Yay! I'm going to do my pictures tonight. Hey, if you don't mind, for those who don't know, Peg was kind enough to jump in because Jeff had another engagement he had to attend to.
An alternate opportunity.
An alternate opportunity. So, what I wanted to talk to you about, if you don't mind, which I think would help everybody, is you are the supreme connector being. The supreme. How do you? The supreme connector being. I think those of us that are like living the go-giver life, don't most people want to be the connector? Because I do. I did.
Well, especially for people that are go-giver type people, I think it warms their heart when they're able to make introductions between two people who don't yet know each other who would have good synergy, whether it's a collaborative project together, whether one person has a product or service that would be the solution to somebody else's challenge, those kinds of things. So yeah, and then when you make an introduction of two people, it warms your heart that, you were able to do that for both of the people you're introducing. So yeah. And I apologize. The one part of the sunset that's coming in above my curtain, so I'm trying to go like this.
Yeah,
I love the view out my window. I can see a little bit of Breton Bay, the body of water near me. And I love that I face the sunset every night. But now that we're in daylight savings time here in Maryland, it's...
So Peg's in Maryland and I'm in New Hampshire.
In
New Hampshire tonight.
Where?
New Hampshire. We don't say the ER on the end of any of our words. We say mother, father, sister, brother, New Hampshire. But we do say idea. We put all the ERs there. And there's Kim. I finally got on. Yay! Kim was on the one too.
Kim
The
was
1
on.
o'clock
I
Zoom.
was with her.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I know we were talking then too about the networking because you're so good at it. But now it's intimidating to watch how good you are at it for me. Do you mind if I ask you, and you can be as brutally honest as you want to?
Okay. Well,
You've
first of all,
seen
can we
you've seen me.
reframe that you feel intimidated? How about if you think in an opportunity, this is where I can learn what Peg does and try it myself in the next time, rather than, oh my gosh, Peg does it.
Oh, well, I didn't mean it that way, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
No, I was wondering if you could, the difference between how you get people's information and how I get people's information. You're better at it than I am for sure. Can you see ways that I could do it a little bit different?
Well, rather than telling you what to do different, how about if I tell you what I do, and if it sounds like something you could implement,
Okay.
that might be good. So
this is for everybody, not just me, by the way. I'm just using me as an example.
So
yeah.
One thing I do is I sort of can not size up, but you can get a feel for the other person based on your initial communication and conversation with them. So you and I were at the Baltimore-Washington Airport, BWI, here in Maryland. You had flown from New Hampshire, did I say it right? New Hampshire, down to Maryland, and I was meeting you there. And then we were taking the connecting flight together to Denver. And I had met a woman while I was waiting for you, and you had told somebody, I know when I get there, Peg's going to already be talking to somebody. So while I was selling your the lady with the blue hair book, and the woman's buying it and everything. So we had struck up a nice conversation. I knew where she and her husband were living and where they raised their kids and what high school they went to. And, I sort of am from Maryland, so I knew that part of where she was. So we had struck up a conversation already. And then I took a selfie with her, and then you arrived. So we took a selfie with all of us. And I said, I would like to send this photo to you in a card. I'm going to need your address. So I just handed her my phone. I opened new contact and I handed her my phone, and I said, just fill it out for me. Your name, your mailing address.
This is in send out cards.
Send out cards. So I handed her. No, I didn't open send out cards. I just opened my phone and put her in my contacts. So then I did need to import her into the send out cards program. But in the meantime, 2 days later was her birthday. 3 days later was your birthday, whatever it was. So we're texting her with her happy birthday and some, so that's what I did. And you can't do that with everybody. They're like, you want my what? And no, I'm not giving you my address. You're going to come but with some people, you can build that rapport, and you can feel that they're going to be willing to give you their mailing address or their phone number or both.
So you're basically looking for something you have in common to talk about. Right. And then making a mental note of it must be.
Right.
Right. Scott said Jeff must be chasing squirrels again. Yep. Yeah.
He had an alternate opportunity this evening.
Yeah. No, he's a busy guy. There's no doubt about it. He's doing that. Event's coming right up. So yeah, find the common ground. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Scott and I and Peg, don't hit me on my English or whatever, but because I don't do that right. However, we went to Denver together to one of the Achieve Systems events, and that has a big networking thing the night before the actual event. And we both were there. We all three of us were there, working the room. And I know you guys.
I met Scott as we were all following the baggage claim rule.
Oh,
which didn't make it into the book, but Lisa, I think you should explain the baggage claim rule, because
all of us don't. we don't have to worry about the baggage claim rule because the three of us were three separate people. So the baggage claim rule is if you're there with a group of people or your family, only one of you goes up to the turnstile. The others wait in the back, but within arm distance. So one person pulls the bags and hands them to the family. You don't all stand up there at the turnstile. That is the rule. Because how many times have you seen the whole family standing there at the turnstile?
And everybody's getting in everybody else's way and all that stuff.
So the rest of the family waits to the side within rolling distance of your bag, and you have one bag puller, and then the rest. I learned that when I had
Denver and met Scott, he'd already gotten his bags because he was on a totally different flight.
Right. So, yeah. Scott says, I ain't speak no English. Yeah, that's me. I never stand at the beginning because everyone else stands there. Yeah, me either. I go towards the end where I can fit. Yeah, I just look for a spot. And what I used to do is I was looking for a spot where Grammy could sit down and the kid was there. So I'd be the bag puller and roll it over to them. So I was mucho happy with when we started having roller bags, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I've graduated now. I don't check a bag.
I know you do all carry on.
Yeah, there isn't a circumstance I can think of where I'd be willing to check a bag anymore. I even went on a 1-week cruise without checking a bag. So now I know I can do it.
Wow.
It's just you have to look at every single thing in the bag and say, will this make or break my week? and not take some stuff. And that was rough because I, wanted to take more stuff, of course, everyone. Scott says, I have a big E for my last name on all sides of my bag. I can see it no matter what side it lays on. Yeah, I'm always surprised because they sell so much stuff and it gets so much mention about how all the bags look the same and they're all like most bags are black and they all look the same. So I'm often surprised no one tries to, no one tries.
I have a lime green luggage tag and I tie a great big pink ribbon around.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You need to figure out how to stand out. And that relates well to networking. You need to do things just a little bit differently so you stand out and people will remember you.
Yeah, and I like how you're able to talk with people that you meet, like that lady waiting to get on the flight without being annoying. Maybe it's that you're reading them or you're doing a good job of reading them because some people you try to talk to, they definitely don't want to talk. And you need to be able to recognize that and move along. And actually, Scott, that's one of the rules too. That's the one where my mother was taking too long on the appointment. That one. I don't even remember what's that one. The mini skirt rule. What am I
mini skirt rule?
Yeah, right. The mini skirt rule. Because if you're talking to somebody and it's a networking situation and they're looking around and not at you and they're not paying attention to what you're saying, you want to get up? I can talk while you get up and fix that if you want.
It's just where the sun is. It's going to be about 5 minutes and it'll drop.
Okay.
I'm going to put my sunglasses back on.
Oh, there you go. Oh, now we can see your eyeballs. Well, I think being able to read the other person is important. And during the miniskirt rule, that was actually for an appointment to sign somebody up. Once they started not paying attention in any way, I packed. I was packing my purse and I'm going. And I didn't think bad of them, anything like that. I just knew that the meeting was over.
Right.
That's all. And I think in networking, there's the kind of like that too. You have to read who you're talking to. If they're looking around at the next person they're going to talk to, your conversation's over.
Right.
Just wrap it up and move along too, because they already stopped talking to you. So I think that's that's something that has to be learned. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's, being tuned in enough. So I have a song coming out real soon called Lean In to Listen. It's all about paying attention to the cues that the person you're speaking with is giving you. Whether they're doing it consciously or not, you need to consciously pay attention to their body language, their, like you said, you're at a networking event and you're talking and they're like going like this, looking, they're definitely not tuned in and listening to you, but you need to be tuned in so you know how to react and respond. And maybe the best response is nice meeting you, see you later, bye, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think it's important not necessarily to get mad at them for doing that or whatever. When it was a recruit, I certainly didn't get mad or let them bother me. I just thought, well, I'm glad that I recognize the meeting's over so that I don't waste either one of our times when the meeting is actually over. You know what I mean? Or the conversation. If you're networking, if the conversation over is just over. Scott said I would do that just to annoy you. I know you would, Scott. And Marion Penny up to Grove. Hey, I see you there. And Jeannie Porter said, reminds me of movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah, the thing you don't want to do is be like an insurance salesman who won't shut up on a plane and you're there holding people captive. You don't want to do that at networking events. And to tell you the truth, I think the easiest way to not do that is to not talk about yourself. That just ask questions. If you just sit there and ask questions the whole time, people don't usually walk away and stop talking when they're talking about themselves. So if you're asking them questions,
we talk a lot about Bob Berg on your show because that's of course how you and Jeff met. One of my most favorite Bob Berg quotes ever is that nobody ever hung up the phone or walked away from you at a networking event if they were talking. So if you ask really interesting questions like, how did you get started in your line of work? And they're in the process of telling you the maybe laboriously long response to that, you lean in, you listen, and you pay attention to any little nugget that would help you later in a conversation that made them know you heard them. But they're not going to turn and walk away if they're the ones carrying on the conversation. So it's all about asking really good questions so that you engage them in a conversation that's about them. It's their favorite subject, right?
Scott says, on my travel day, I focus on getting to the destination. Now, me too. And I think why I think Peg's way better at networking than me is sometimes I'm so focused on making sure I don't forget my bag. I don't forget what gate I'm at. I'm all focused on that I'm not thinking about the people around me as much as I could.
Have you ever forgotten your bag?
Say again?
Have you ever forgotten your bag? Have you ever missed your flight? Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. That's why I have all that problem. And there's Mr. Man, Taishi Man. Hello.
Hi, Ty.
So you know where I forgot my bag, and I usually am like tied to the bag, but I was when I had Grammy and the kid with me and the kid was younger, we took a hotel shuttle over to the airport. And I have 3 items on me at all times when I'm doing that. The big bag that I checked, the roller bag, and my purse on top of it. The little roller bag that was going on the plane with me got left on the hotel shuttle. And I noticed it as soon as I was down, but he already moved. And I was beside myself. But I called the hotel and had them call the shuttle and he brought it back. So It wasn't a total problem, but my laptop and my wallet and all that stuff was in that bag. It would have been a disaster. So I'm very paranoid about having everything so I can touch it and check it 12 times, make sure I've got it.
Well, and the fact that you were organized enough to notice that it was missing quickly enough to make it all right within.
I think that's how I don't leave stuff a lot is because, like I said, I have 3. Back then it was always 3 items. Now it's 2. I always have the 2. I have the bag and the little bag on top of it because I'm only carrying on. So I make sure I know how many number and I keep counting them. It's like when you have kids with you, you have like 12 kids with you. Scott wants to know if Ty likes the lasagna. I'm not sure he tried it yet. I brought him down to frozen pieces, so he'll have to tell you. You can put it in the comments if you're.
Put it in the comments.
If you liked it. Lori said, too many at network Too many at networking events shove a business card at you and jump right into trying to sell you, not learn about you and build a relationship. That is so true.
So true.
That's
So true.
why you don't want to do that yourself. You can easily set yourself apart by not doing that. The only
Yeah,
thing is you have
cultivate
to
the
realize,
connection.
yeah, you have,
Cultivate the connection.
and I
Get
think
to
you
know
have
them.
to
Right.
have your expectations when you go to a networking event. Like even when I went all the way to Denver, my objective was maybe 10 people that I really found out who they were, what they were about, what they did, got their contact information. 10 was the maximum I knew I could deal with in that amount of time. I wasn't expecting 200. There were 200 people there. So I think we have to manage our expectations as well as setting a good example. What do you think about the best way not to do that yourself or to deal with someone who is doing that?
If they're shoving their card at you and trying to sell you something, I would graciously take their card. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you've given this to me. May I give you my contact information? What's the best way to follow up with you? Do you prefer email, text? What social media platform do you like? Where shall we connect and continue this conversation? Because I have a goal tonight to meet a lot of people, not just spend time with one or two people. And I would love to follow up with a meeting. And here's another networking tip I'd love to share tonight, Lisa, is that if you're scheduled to go like to Denver, you were in Denver for 3 days. You knew there was going to be 200 people there. When you get back, when you put that on your calendar to go to Denver, put a proportionate amount of time for like the next 3 or 4 days after you return to do the follow-up that's going to reap the rewards. So if you're just going to a Chamber of Commerce event or something local and it's a 1 hour event or 1.5 hour event, usually 30 to 45 minutes is sufficient enough time to do the follow-up. But I always put the event on my calendar where I need to go somewhere, or even networking on Zoom these days, and then a comparable time within the next 24 to 48 hours to do the follow-up with who you met, or you saved the chat and who you wanted to connect with, and those kinds of things. Because you know the saying, the fortune is in the follow-up. And I have a system, if it's an online networking thing and people go around the room and introduce themselves, if there's somebody that I feel there could be some collaboration, or they say I'm getting ready to do this webinar, I think of who I know that could benefit from knowing them or going to the webinar or whatever it is. I'll make notes in the columns of my list of who I'm meeting. I'll put a star or put an L for LinkedIn. I'll put a FB if they like Facebook better. And then when I sit down for that half hour, 45 minutes the next day or the day after that, that's what I do is I go through and I've already systematized my records so that I know who I'm reaching out to. And sometimes if it's somebody I'm really excited about getting to know better, I'll immediately, when the meeting ends, send them a LinkedIn request. It was so great to meet you today at the XYZ event. Let's get on each other's calendar to learn more about how we can help each other, or how I can, you know, I said I'd introduce you to my friend. What's the best way to do that? All those kinds of things. But I like making an appointment with yourself to do the follow-up. And if I'm so busy in the next 4 or 5 days that I don't have time to follow up, I might consider not even going to the networking event, because it's not the event that makes things happen. It's the follow-up afterwards that is the gold in those cultivating the relationships.
You know what I do when I'm like for Denver, for example, of course, Denver had a folder. let's face it, Denver had a folder. So when I had the contacts from Denver, I either wrote it on the folder or put it in the folder. And I do get rid of the folders once I've harvested all the stuff I need off of the folder. So my rule is I can't get rid of the folder until I follow up with the ones that are in the folder. So
Right.
That's how I end up dealing with that.
And Lisa, I love that you just used the word harvest, because so much about cultivating the connections that you make through networking is a farming method not a hunting or fishing method. It's
Yeah.
planting the seeds, watering the seeds, and then when you do the work of farming and cultivating those connections, then you reap a hearty harvest from your hard work. So I love that you said harvest. Yeah.
Don said, few people know about the QR code you can easily share with people from your LinkedIn on a phone. That's
Right.
an awesome, good tip. Awesome. Lori said, exactly, Peg and Lisa. I usually can spot them a mile away. I do what Peg just said often. Lisa Williams said, what is considered a networking event?
Anything where you're meeting new people you might not know or people you haven't seen in a long, long time. Like you may be a member of a chamber of commerce, but they're always inviting new people to join. You see a lot of people that are already members, have been members for a while, but there's always new people, and you want to talk to both the people you haven't seen in a month or two, or, oh, hey, haven't seen you in 3 or 4 of these meetings. How have you been? But you want to reach out and meet the new people too.
You know, I look at it like it's not just the things that they call networking events, but I even considered it a networking thing. Like when I was sitting in the sidelines watching the soccer team when the kid was a kid, littler kid,
Right.
and I was sitting there with a whole bunch of other parents. You end up sitting next to different ones all the time. That felt like a networking event to me because we're talking back and forth. And
I went to a funeral 3 weeks ago.
Oh, geez.
And I was networking during the luncheon and now I have this new connection that's an author, and we're talking about his book. He wrote a book about horse racing. So the Kentucky Derby was last week. So I read his book. It was an Audible, so I got the Audible, and we formed this great relationship. He texted me out of the blue today and said, how are you liking an XYZ book? And I'm like, well, it's 500 pages and I'm reading 2 other books while I read that. I'm savoring it, but it's not going to be like your book where I finished it in 4 days. It's going to take me some time. But that was networking, right?
If I had a funeral,
and I started out with, what's your connection? Funny story. What's your connection with the deceased?
Oh,
we went to college with the dead man's son. And my mother knew the dead man when they were teenagers. How funny is that? So then I get home and I look the guy up on LinkedIn, and one of our we had like 45 mutual connections. And I'm like, wow. Oh my gosh. So I'm looking through, and one of them is my cousin. So I call my cousin up. I'm like, how do you know this person? He's like, oh, we went to college together.
Hey, I am not having a funeral. If I was, I would want them to play the music at it. The do 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 do, like there was a Jack in the Box, but right. Yeah, okay. Anyway, that is so wrong. Yeah. Scott said, put the time on the front of your folder before putting on your calendar. That's a good idea. Scott saves the folders and puts them in a previous file. Now, the reason I don't save all the folders, Scott, is because evidently you and I need to sit down and watch an episode or 2 of Hoarders together. We can hold hands if it's frightening, but I've watched some Hoarder shows, so I no longer save everything. I harvest out of it, and then I get rid of the folder.
So you get rid of the contents and you recycle the folder?
We don't recycle here, but that's, yeah, neither here nor there. Sorry.
Well, you could flip it over to the other side and put a new label on it.
No, I don't like used folders. I don't use a used folder. Not only that, but my folders end up looking like this. I write on all of it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So I need a fresh folder.
Yeah. See, I told you the sun would go down in a few minutes.
Don said, I've always loved the farming metaphor. I grew up in an agricultural area. Although my family were not farmers, I learned that if you wanted a crop in the fall, you had to plant in the spring. That's a Jim Rowan thing, isn't it? He always said that too. Don said, and you have to nurture the plants and you have to give it time. Yeah. Well, who says that?
And you have to pull out the weeds. Sometimes the people that are shoving the carts, you're just like, yeah, I don't even need them in my Rolodex.
What is it on Lead the Field? He says, if the other guy's grass is greener, chances are it's getting more attention. Yeah. So Lisa said, oh, right on the nose. And let's see, she said, I'm always engaging in some sort of group or activity where I am meeting new people. For example, I started taking dance classes last year, and now I'm hosting an after-hours Mother's Day event with them at the studio. I
Oh,
think of
fun.
networking like that. Yeah, networking to me is wherever I'm going to see people I don't know.
Right.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's
I also
cultivating new
intentionally go to
connections. Yeah.
networking stuff too, though.
Right.
Believe it or not, we just whizzed through a half hour there.
Wow.
So I am so thankful that you filled in for the
I'm
Mr.
so thankful
Wayward
you asked me, and there's
Mr.
always
Wayward
fun
West.
things to talk about. So, yeah.
Now, for those of you going forward, we're shooting for the 100 shows for the Blue Brigade, and then we're going to be doing some other things, including Peg and I are thinking about doing a show about.
We can do better than
We
that.
can do better
We can
than
do
that.
better than this.
We
Yeah,
can do
we can do
better than
better than
this.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got some things planned up on the horizon. So I hope you'll all come back Thursday nights for the next couple months. Chances are it's going to be a variety of people with me because Mr. West is a little bit busy with his new projects, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
it
so
is awesome.
happy.
And so here's the thing, as Lisa has more and more alternate guests while Jeff is doing alternate commitments, make sure you connect with the guests because they'll know Lisa, and then you can broaden your horizon. So it's virtual networking. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, I'm listed as Peg Duchesne. I won't say Duchess, but you'll be able to find me if you spell it like Duchesne. And go to LinkedIn and say, I heard you on Lisa's podcast, Blue Hair Brigade. Would love to connect, and I'll certainly accept. And then you're expanding your horizons that way.
That's awesome.
And every future guest that Lisa has on, I encourage you to do the same.
Well, thank you very much. That went by quick, and I'm going to immediately fall asleep right now because I've got to get up at 2 a.m.
Drive safely, and I'm so glad you fixed your tail lights so no police are pulling you over.
Oh yes, I had a brake light out, everybody. So I
Wouldn't
got
that be bad? 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yes, my good buddy Kevin. I think you have to have a team. There's a team of people helping me up here, and
Takes a village to raise a kid, I hear.
yeah, my car.
To keep your car running.
Yeah, once you have an older vehicle, you need a team, right? So my buddy Kevin made sure to squeeze me in this week, and he changed the LED array on the back of my window. So, because to avoid getting a ticket, the first thing you have to avoid is getting stopped. So, yay! Well, thank you very much, everybody. And I'll be posting this up on the replay on YouTube. And I really appreciate you all spending time with us tonight. Love you all. And thank you. Good night, everybody.